What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. We got a couple hours before Week 9 kicks off with the Jets and Texans playing on Thursday Night Football, and we've got an injury report that should come out a little before that, sometime in the next hour and a half or so. But before we get to either of that, I do want to talk about something that was said by McDonald yesterday in a press conference. I didn't have a chance to make a video about it yesterday, but I do want to talk about it today because I do consider this to be significant, and I do actually think this is good news. Greg Bell passes this along from McDonald's press conference. I saw it from a couple other people as well. Coach McDonald says Anthony Bradford will start at right guard for Seahawks versus Rams Sunday and will roll with AB. So that implies, although he doesn't say it straight up, that does imply that the rotation at right guard is over and we're going to be seeing Anthony Bradford get the whole game going forward. That, like Greg Bell says, that suggests no rotation this week with rookie Christian Haynes at right guard. So if you take McDonald at face value with this comment, and again, by the way, guys, sorry about the frame rate. I can't fix it. I think OBS just went through an update that threw things out of alignment with how much it was using of the processor. I'll continue to work on it, but right now there's nothing I can do. But yeah, this implies that Christian Haynes is out of the lineup and he's not going to get a chance to play anymore. And I think it's clearly the right move, and I think it's something that helps, and I think it's a good sign. Because the last couple games, there's been a clear trend developing with these two players. They are headed in different directions. And neither player is necessarily headed to a direction that we want them to be in, but they're at least going the right way. And the player that is going the right way is actually Anthony Bradford. So I like this, and I hope that it is true, and I hope that it ends up bearing out over the next several games we play, that Anthony Bradford just gets to play the whole game, and we'll see what the results are. So you go to Pro Football Focus, and by the way, Pro Football Focus just redid their site, which I'm not a big fan of. I mean, look at this. I'm not happy about any of this. But yeah, Anthony Bradford, let's take a look here. So we're not thrilled with what we see, right? 51.1 overall, which is 87th out of 110 guards that qualify. So according to Pro Football Focus, not only can you find 64 guards better than Anthony Bradford, and there are only, 64 starting guards in the NFL at any given time, you can find significantly more than 64 snaps, 64 guards better than him. Now, I know that's just Pro Football Focus, but I don't think that's an inaccurate judgment based on what we've seen from Bradford so far this year either. Pass blocking grade is about the same, 51.1, 81st. So again, near the bottom, not dead last or anything like that. But again, they will tell you that there are 64 guards out there who are qualified in terms of snaps who are better. Run blocking grade is actually pretty close to average here. If you take a look, 57.3. So he's not far off there. He still ranks poorly, 79th out of 110 guards. So he's bad, right? He's bad. But why is Anthony Bradford really considered bad? And again, I want to stress, I'm not saying Pro Football Focus is the end-all be-all here. What I am saying is that Pro Football Focus does a pretty good job in this instance of capturing what I think I'm seeing. Because you go game by game. You look at the game by game for Anthony Bradford. He was bad against the Broncos. He was about average against New England. And he was really bad against the Dolphins and Lions. Right? And across those games, you can see some of the inexcusable things that he was doing. Right? Maybe that bleeds a little bit into the Giants game and the Niners game as well. In those two games, they thought he was average to slightly below average. You can see that, those first three games, he has 7 penalties by himself. Has multiple penalties in each of the first 3 games. He allows 6 pressures as a right guard against Miami. I mean, do you have any idea how big of a joke that is? You're a right guard. You're playing against nose tackles. And then against the Niners, he allowed 7 pressures. So in pretty much every game over the first, I'd say 6 weeks, he's doing something really viscerally bad. The one exception might be the Giants game, but even in that game, he gave up a sack. And then the last two games, and I know it's just two games, but it is 85 snaps, so it's a meaningful sample size. Actually, pretty decent. 67.2, including a clean bill against the pass in terms of pressures allowed against the Falcons. And then slightly above average against the Bills. Workable, functional. Allowed 2 pressures combined over the last 2 weeks. So, Anthony Bradford started the season off miserably. Again, you can look at the first 6 games. In each of those 6 games, he's doing something really, really obviously bad. According to PFF anyway. But these last 2 games, he is settling in a little bit and providing somewhat passable play. I don't know if I completely agree with PFF's conclusion here, especially when it comes to run blocking, but it's workable. Christian Haynes, on the other hand, you go to his grading, and it's obviously a smaller sample size, but we're now over 100 snaps, right? That's not nothing. 48 overall, which is 93rd, which means you could find a whole set of backups that are better than Christian Haynes, according to PFF. Pass blocking grade, 53.3. Actually, when you look at it, it's, I believe, a tiny bit better than Bradford, yeah. But not significantly. And most of that is probably carryover from early in the season when Bradford was getting blown off the ball. The last 2 games, he's been much better than that. He's been getting blown off the field, rather, excuse me. Run blocking grade, really bad, right near the bottom. Almost not in the top 100, 50.1. But more important than the overall grades, because the overall grades are worse than Bradford's, don't get me wrong, would be the recent performance, right? Like, forget about the Denver game. He only played 1 snap. That doesn't mean anything. He goes into that New England game, Detroit game, and Giants game for significant portions. And he does do some things that are bad. Like, look at how bad his pass blocking grade is against New England, but workable, right? 64.7, 61.8, 69.7. Like, you can live with that. That's something that you can swallow and feel like he's not killing your offense. If that is his actual performance, and again, I would be reticent to say that he should be getting a 64.7 in a game where his pass block rate is 18.3, but okay. The first 4 games for Haynes, yeah, there was some positive development here, and then the last 3 games, look at it just completely fade away. And remember, the pressure numbers are low because he's not playing that much. 43.3, 37.6, 36.5. 2 penalties over the last 2 weeks, by the way. So the penalty problem that was starting with Bradford hasn't had a penalty in 5 straight games. Haynes has now had 2 straight games with a penalty. So the trend lines are diverging here. Neither guy is where we want them to be, but one guy is clearly starting to get better, and the other guy is clearly starting to get worse. So Haynes hits the bench, it looks like, and based on what Pro Football Focus tells us anyway, and honestly what my eyes are telling me, it's the right thing to do and it's the right time to do it. So Anthony Bradford taking over full-time. Christian Haynes becomes a full-on backup. Some people are going to wonder where this leaves Christian Haynes, and I got to admit, I'm a little bit unsure about that myself. I have a theory, and it's a good theory that I like, but I don't know if it's true or not. So my theory is that they're trying to move Christian Haynes to the left side and eventually have him play left guard next year when Tomlinson's gone, because Christian Haynes doesn't really have the strength to play right guard in the NFL. We're starting to find out he looks very weak out there, gets pushed around. That's not the case for Anthony Bradford, and Haynes has the mobility to play left guard. He's a very mobile right guard, so he should be able to handle mobility stuff as a left guard, but he's never played left guard before. In college, he was a full-time right guard. I don't think he ever played a snap anywhere else. So that's a transition that's going to take some time, and I support that decision entirely. If they can convert Christian Haynes into an above-average to good left guard, that is so much more valuable than what we're getting over as a right guard. That is so much more important. But it's not going to happen overnight. And it's not going to happen if you give him a few snaps every game at right guard, by the way, where he goes out there and plays really poorly, gets penalized, and hits the bench feeling a little bit worse about himself than he did before. So yeah, that's where I think this is going. That's where I hope this is going, but I certainly don't know it's where it's going, because part of the benefit of Christian Haynes was supposed to be he would come out of the box ready to play. We haven't seen that. That doesn't mean this can't work out very well for us, but for the moment, it's not going to work out for us. We're just going to have to ride with Bradford, and again, I'm okay with it. Graded out well the last 2 games. Good scores, good results, or at least workable results. I can live with it. Let's see what happens. See you guys later. Go Hawks.